Here are some wild facts you probably never heard. In 1983, Terry Bradshaw went to the hospital and checked in under the alias Tom Brady. Jerome Bettis once played in a game where he had 5 rushes for 1 yard and 3 touchdowns. The 2014 Chiefs became the first team since the 1964 Giants to complete an entire season without any touchdown passes to a wide receiver. Mark Sanchez had a higher career postseason passer rating than Tom Brady, Troy Aikman, both Eli and Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Brett Favre, and Steve Young. The Panthers have never had back-to-back winning seasons, but they have won the NFC South 3 years in a row. Julian Edelman actually took Jerry Rice's daughter to the prom. Over the course of his career, Mike Vrabel had 10 catches for 10 touchdowns. In 8 career games versus the Minnesota Vikings, Eli Manning threw as many touchdowns to Vikings defenders as he did to his own teammates. In 1967, the Jets became the first team to have someone throw for over 4,000 yards in a single season, and they haven't done it since. Until October of 2020, the starting quarterback with the most wins at the Cleveland Browns Stadium was Ben Roethlisberger. From 1990 to 1993, the Buffalo Bills were 0-4 in the Super Bowl, but they were 12-4 against NFC teams in the regular season in that same time frame. The 1999 Jaguars went 0-3 against the Titans and 15-0 against everybody else. Drew Brees once threw 2 go-ahead touchdown passes in the last 5 minutes of a playoff game, and they still lost. The Broncos have gone 0-4 in Super Bowls in which they've worn an orange jersey. Only 2 kickers have ever failed to score a point in a Super Bowl: Fred Cox in Super Bowl IX and Matt Prater in Super Bowl 48. You and I had more rushing yards than Reggie Bush did in 2016. Jim Harbaugh has more career rushing yards than Bo Jackson. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, founded in 1976, didn't play a regular season game in Buffalo until 2009. Zach Martin has more Pro Bowls than he has holding penalties in his career. Tom Brady never played a single down of football where he was mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. The only quarterback in Jets history to beat the Philadelphia Eagles was Zach Wilson. Rich Gannon was the league's oldest first-time NFL MVP at age 37. Timmy Smith finished his career with 602 yards, yet he holds the Super Bowl rushing record of 204 yards. In 2002, the Texans had 47 total yards of offense and beat the Steelers, who had 422 total yards of offense. The only quarterback drafted by the Denver Broncos who won a playoff game for them was Tim Tebow. The Colts are actually descended from the Dayton Triangles, one of the league's earliest teams. For 4 years in a row from 2017 to 2020, first overall picks actually tied before they won a game. Mohamed Sanu has thrown touchdown passes to 2 Pro Bowl receivers and 2 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Jerry Rice holds the record for most receiving yards after the age of 40. In second place is Tom Brady. And then in last place with -2 yards, you have Brett Favre. Kurt Warner's team went to the Super Bowl every year he started all 16 games. From week 1 to week 15 in 2020, Josh Allen threw for exactly 4,000 yards. When broken down by yards thrown per half, he threw 2,000 in the first half and 2,000 in the second half. Doug Martin spent 6 years with the Buccaneers, and in each of those 6 years, he either finished in the 1400s or the 400s for rushing yards. The Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. The Lions have had a 30-plus year streak of not winning a playoff game twice. Mike Williams' last touchdown catch as a Charger was from Keenan Allen. The longest time between 2 catches from the same quarterback and the same receiver is 18 years. That quarterback, Brett Favre. The receiver? Also Brett Favre. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team with asymmetrical helmets. The Patriots lost their first Super Bowl by a score of 46-10, giving them a point differential of -36 in the Super Bowl. The Patriots' franchise point differential in the Super Bowl is still -36. In 1932, the Bears' opponents only scored 2 points in the first 4 weeks. The Bears' record after those 4 weeks, 0-1-3. Sammy Baugh once had a game where he threw 4 touchdown passes, intercepted 4 passes on defense, and kicked an 81-yard punt that was downed at the Lions' 1-yard line. The 2000 NFC West only had 1 team in the Pacific time zone and 2 in the Eastern time zone. The New York Jets have won a Super Bowl but haven't won an AFC championship. The LA Rams hold the record for most safeties scored in a game by a single team with 3. Fred Dryer holds the records for most safeties scored in a single game by a single player with 2. Norm Michael was drafted in 1944 and didn't find out until 1999. The Pittsburgh Steelers have never won less than 5 games in a season since the merger. During the 16-game regular season era, 4 10-6 teams went to the Super Bowl. All 4 of them won. The Seahawks are the only team to have played in an AFC championship and an NFC championship. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hold the longest losing streak in the league, but don't hold the longest losing streak in either conference. Halfway through the list, if you guys are enjoying, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more football content. Either the Niners or the Bills played in a Super Bowl 7 years in a row, but they never played each other. Only 9 teams have drafted 2 or more Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. The Chargers are one of those 9 teams, despite never winning a Super Bowl themselves. The New York Jets Super Bowl came before the moon landing. The undefeated 1972 Dolphins won the AFC Championship on the road against Pittsburgh. The Packers once beat the Lions twice in a season despite leading in neither game. Tom Dempsey played a decade in the league as a place kicker and only had half a foot, and at one point held the NFL record with a 63-yard field goal. Tom Brady was the last player who played in the Montreal Expos organization to retire from professional sports. Kicker Mark Mosley won the 1982 NFL MVP. Otto Graham played in the championship game all 10 years of his career. Patrick Mahomes once lost a game in college where he threw for 734 yards. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers can play undefeated football for 8 straight seasons and still have an all-time franchise win-loss record under 500. Tom Brady is 1-3 in the Super Bowl against the NFC East. He is 6-0 against everybody else. Joe Flacco and John Elway have the same number of passing touchdowns in the Super Bowl. The Steelers have not won a playoff game with TJ Watt. Norm Van Brocklin's single-game passing yards record has stood for almost 7 decades. Most people remember Bill Belichick's tenure with the Browns as a failure, but his 11-5 season in 1994 is tied for the best record the Browns have had in a season in the last 40 years. Jadeveon Clowney bench pressed 225 pounds a total of 21 times at the Combine. That was 2 less than Jay Cutler. Since the last time the Browns won the division has been won by the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Jaguars, the Titans, and the Houston Oilers. Arian Foster and Brian Westbrook are the only 2 players in the regular season 69-69 club. Exactly 69 yards rushing and 69 yards receiving in a single game. After Joe Thomas started his first game, he never once missed a snap. The Dallas Cowboys haven't beat the Denver Broncos since September 10th, 1995. Reggie White played 50 less games than Bruce Smith and is in second place by only 2 sacks. Amari Cooper is only 6 months older than Calvin Ridley, yet they were never teammates at the University of Alabama. The 2024 NFC North is the winningest division ever with 45 wins, yet their record in the playoffs was 0-3. Jeff Garcia threw for more yards in his first season as a full-time starter than Joe Montana or Steve Young ever threw in a single season. The 2010 Raiders are the only team in a non-strike shortened season to have played their entire season without having once played on artificial turf. The 2010 Raiders also went 6-0 in their division and missed the playoffs with a record of 8-8. The 2008 Jets were undefeated at 1 o'clock, winless at 4 o'clock, and 500 in primetime. A quarterback threw for exactly 50 passing touchdowns before a quarterback threw for exactly 40 passing touchdowns. Tom O'Malley threw 6 interceptions in his NFL debut and proceeded to never play again. Andre Johnson has the most career games with 10 receptions and 100 yards in NFL history with 21. The Vikings have 3 former players who became pro wrestling stars: Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and Commander Aziz. Chris Carter had an 8-season streak of a 1,000-yard season, and the streak started when he was 28 years old. 1952 Dick Lane still holds the record for most interceptions in a season with 14. Aaron Rodgers is technically the only player to have a Super Bowl ring and an NBA championship ring. Since no one could agree on the realignment of the NFC after the AFL-NFL merger, the 5 best plans were put into a hat, and Pete Rozell's secretary selected one at random. The Baltimore Colts made an 80-cent long-distance call to sign Johnny Unitas as a free agent. The Arizona Cardinals had the longest postseason victory drought in NFL history, ranging from 1947 to 1998. Walter Payton only won one NFL. I cannot do this. Walter Payton only had one NFL rushing title in his career. Sammy Baugh once led the NFL in passing, punting, and defensive interceptions in the same season. The Chicago Bears have the most retired numbers of any team. Adrian Peterson holds the record for most rushing yards in a single game. Peterson went into halftime of that game with 43 yards. Emmitt Smith in 1993 still won the rushing title despite holding out the first 2 games due to a contract dispute. Before 1975, offensive holding was a 15-yard penalty. The coldest Super Bowl in NFL history was in New Orleans when the Cowboys and Dolphins played Super Bowl VI with a temperature of 39 degrees. The Indianapolis Colts won 23 straight regular season games in 2008 and 2009. In 2000, the San Diego Chargers had a total of 1,062 rushing yards. That same year, 19 players alone had more rushing yards than the entire San Diego Chargers. Quarterbacks drafted by the Detroit Tigers have started in more Super Bowls than quarterbacks drafted by the Detroit Lions. And finally, in Super Bowl 51, the Patriots ran 49 offensive plays after being down 28-3. The Falcons offense ran 46 offensive plays for the entire game.